fundamental rights. This is an auspicious day in the life of every Indian because this day is celebrated not by people belonging to one particular religion, caste, or region, but by everyone who is called as Indian, who call themselves or who consider themselves as an Indian. And why this day is important, that I'm going to explain you in the forthcoming lecture that I'll be speaking for, as I've told that I'll be given 60 minutes to speak on this topic. So let me start with my presentation. I'll share a PPT. Is the screen visible to you all?
No, sir, but yeah, it's
Yes, yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Hello.
yes, sir.
Am I audible? Is my voice clear?
Yes, sir.
yes, sir.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So today I'll be talking on this particular aspect of our life, what is called as the Constitution of India, a voluminous but invaluable document that governs our life. Now, since most of the students who are present here are belong to the NSS, you all must be knowing the motto of NSS is that not me but you. Now, let me ask a question to you. Is there a word we know that you is greater than I? When we say that not me but you, that means I give preference to others rather than myself. But is there a word which is bigger and greater than you? Well, that word is called we. Yeah, in Hindi we say hum log, or as the Constitution of our India begins with those three golden words, we the people of India. And that's what we are trying to understand. Now, in this lecture, I'm not going into the details of the Constitution or the technical provision that has been made by the makers of the Indian Constitution, but a Constitution as a document, how it affects our life, how it governs our life, and what does Constitution mean to you and me. You don't have to be a lawyer or a politician to understand the Constitution, because the Constitution is a creation of common people like you and me. How it is, we'll try to understand. Now, as we know that when we want to define a constitution, basically a simplest way in which a constitution can be understood is by saying that the constitution is the fundamental law of the land. That means there is a country called India, and this country is governed by a set of laws which are mentioned in the constitution, or the constitution has given us a set of laws that governs each and every aspect of India. Now, when we say the word India, what does it mean? For any person like you and me, the moment we utter this word India, the map of India immediately reflects in our mind. And this is a map of India, although I have shown the outline of India without mentioning any state or the capitals of the state. The reason being because we are understanding India in its totality. As the student of political science or any student, we know that we live in a territory which is known as India. So India is one among the various countries that exist in the world. There are total 193 countries in the world, and India is one such country. And politics or in law, there is a technical term which we use to mention a country. जिसे हम देश कहते हैं, technically उसे हम state कहते हैं. So we may belong to the state of Maharashtra, Gujarat, but that is the federal unit. But we are actually a citizen of a state called India. Now, what is this state of India? If you look in terms of geography, it is something a very A country of a continental size, 32 lakh square kilometer is the size of India. It is the seventh largest country in the world, located at the southern end of Asia, or that's why it is also known as South Asia, or earlier it was known as the Indian subcontinent. If you look at the population of the India, as per the latest census, it comes to around 121 crore. It's a second largest country after China in terms of population. Government that we have in our country is the parliamentary system of government. And last, but the most important thing is that India is a sovereign country and it is known as the Republic of India. Now, when we look at India, India is not just a country, but it is also an ancient civilization which has a very long history, like other civilizations, maybe China, Mesopotamia. And our history dates back almost to 5,000 years to 6,000 years. As the students, when you are in school, when you open the history textbook, you must have come across that when we understand the ancient India, we start from Harappa and Mohenjo-daro and then come to the present India. So such is a long span of historical context. Now, as I said, India has a unique distinction that there are two important national holidays we enjoy, or rather we can say there are two national festivals we celebrate. One is 15th August and second is 26th January. If you look at any other country, you do not find these kind of holidays or these kind of two different national festivals which are celebrated. If you look at United States, 4th July is celebrated as Independence Day in United States. So in France, I think it is 14th July, which is celebrated as Independence Day. Now, what is the unique thing about India? When we have 15th August 1947 as an important event, because that was the day when we declared ourselves as independent India. And independent India means what? We were not ruled anymore by a foreign power because we were a slave of a foreign power for almost 150 years. That power left India and we became independent on 15th August 1947. So when we had become independent, what was the need to have 26 November 1949 or 26 January 1950, which is celebrated as a Republic Day? As a student of political science or a law student will tell you that if 15th August is important, then 26th January is far, far more important than 15th August. The reason being, on 15th August, we became independent, but on 26th January, we became Republic of India. And why Republic is more greater, or we can say superior to being independent? The answer is, although we became independent, although Britishers left India, but India could have become a dictatorial country. When we say that India is independent, it means that there is no foreign power which is ruling over our country. But it may happen that some Indian might would have become a dictator. It may would have happened that the Indian military would have taken the control of India the way it is happening in our neighboring country. Or it may happen that some a majoritarian government would have established in our country. Or maybe we have declared that one particular community will rule over India. Maybe it is a religious community or a caste community or ethnic community. But that did not happen. Or rather, what we did, we said that it is the people of India who are going to rule over India. And when we say that the people will rule over India, it basically means we have become a republic. यानी हम ये कहते हैं कि भारत पर राज सरकार है, लेकिन सरकार व्हाट इज अ गवर्नमेंट? सरकार हम जनता की या हम आवाम की नौकर है। सरकार को चुनने का काम हम करते हैं, सरकार को सत्ता में बिठाने का काम हम करते हैं और वक्त या जरूरत पड़े तो उसे सरकार को उस सत्ता से हटाने का काम भी हम जनता करते हैं। तो ये जनता जो है भारत की या आवाम जो है भारत का, वो सर्वश्रेष्ठ है। इट इज सुप्रीम एंड दैट इज व्हाट इज कॉल्ड रिपब्लिक ऑफ इंडिया। नाउ लेट्स कम टू व्हाट इज कॉल्ड एज अ नेशन. When we and what is the best symbol of nation? It's the flag of India. a tricolor flag embossed with the Ashokan Chakra in the middle. This flag symbolizes Indian nation, या जिसे हम राष्ट्र कहते हैं. अब राष्ट्र किन चीजों से बना हुआ है? If you look at the traditional concept of nation, जो यूरोप से शुरू होती है, राष्ट्रवाद या राष्ट्र ये जो संकल्पना है यूरोप से हमने ली है, वहां पर एक जमाने में माना जाता है राष्ट्र कौन बनेगा, जहां पर एक ही धर्म हो, एक ही भाषा बोलने वाले हो, एक ही सोच के लोग हो, एक ही इतिहास को जानने वाले लोग हो, या एक ही इतिहास को मानने वाले लोग हैं, ऐसे लोग एक राष्ट्र बना सकते हैं. Now look at India. Look at the ethnic groups of India. There are so many ethnic: Australoid, Mongoloid, Europoid, Caucasian, and Negroid. These are the ethnic groups. If you look at religion, there are 7 to 8 religions in India, and these religions are followed by the people of this country. Although Hindus are in majority, the Muslims constitute the largest minority, followed by Christians, Sikhs, Buddhists, Jains, Jews, Zoroastrians, and also we can add atheists if you want. Look at the languages that are spoken in India. The Constitution of India as of today recognizes 22 languages as the official language of India. Official language मतलब जिसे भारत सरकार ने ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज का दर्जा दिया गया, ऐसे 22 भाषा है हमारे देश में जो 8वें शेड्यूल में लिखे गए. बट इसके अलावा बाकी भी भाषा है जिसे हम कहते हैं नॉन शेड्यूल लैंग्वेज, वो 99 है. और हम जिसे मदर टंग कहते हैं या मातृभाषा कहते हैं वो लगभग 270 है. अगर इसमें हम डायलेक्ट्स ऐड करेंगे तो करीब करीब 1000 के ऊपर. नाउ एक ऐसा देश जहां पर अलग अलग जाति के लोग रहते हैं, धर्म के लोग रहते हैं, हजारों भाषा बोलने वाले, ये तो सिर्फ ऑफिशियल जो भाषा जो भारत सरकार ने जिसका जिक्र किया ये सारे भाषाएं हैं, और इतने सारे एथनिक ग्रुप है, क्या वो एक अपना एक राष्ट्र बना सकते हैं? बिकॉज राष्ट्र की परिभाषा क्या है? एक धर्म होना चाहिए, एक भाषा बोलने वाले लोग होने चाहिए, एक इतिहास को जानने वाले लोग होने चाहिए, और जिन्हें लगता है कि ये देश हमारा है. अब इतने सारे विविधता से भरे हुए लोगों को मिलाकर एक राष्ट्र बनाना नामुमकिन है. I'll give you just an example. In 2005 or 6, the then President of United States, when he visited India, Mr. George W. Bush, he praised Indian democracy by saying that 1 billion people and functional democracy is a miracle on earth. एक अरब लोगों का बनाया हुआ देश और जिसमें डेमोक्रेसी पिछले 70 सालों या 60 सालों से चली आ रही है. बुश जब बात कर रहे थे तो ऑलमोस्ट 60 इयर्स भारत ने कंप्लीट किए थे. उन्होंने कहा एक दुनिया के इतिहास का एक मिराकल है. 120 करोड़ की जनता एक डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री में रहते हैं, ये मानवीय इतिहास में आज तक हुआ नहीं, जो भारत ने सफल करके दिखाया. And why this miracle has happened? This miracle has happened because we have adopted the Constitution of India. And what is this Constitution that we should understand? Now let's not waste much time on knowing the technical details. We know that the Constitution of India was drafted by super intelligent people who came together and they started working on what is known as the Constituent Assembly. It was a body which was created to draft the Constitution of India. The chairman of the drafting committee was an intellectual giant, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar. He was assisted by other people like Gopal Swami Iyengar, Aladi Krishna Swami Iyer, Dr. K.M. Munshi, Muhammad Sadullah. There were other 2 members, unfortunately died. And these were the committees which played a vital role in the drafting of the Indian Constitution. So these are all technical matters. I won't elaborate on this. But if you look at the time frame, the Indian Constitution took almost 2.5 years, 2 years and 11 months. So we can say almost 3 years to complete. And there was a lot of criticism that why India is taking so much of time to complete this process. Whereas there were other countries in other parts of the world, whether it was Pakistan, whether it was Indonesia, whether it was Turkey, which almost completed the Constitution in 1 year or 2 years. But creating a constitution for such a vast country, which is full of diversity and which is also full of social equality, which was a Herculean task before the makers of the Indian Constitution, and they successfully completed this task. If you look at the time frame, 6 December 1946 was the date on which the Constituent Assembly was formed. The next important day was 13 December 1946 because this was the day on which objective resolution which became the basis of preamble of the Indian Constitution. 22nd July, national flag was adopted, and finally on 26 November 1949, that is today, some 71 years back, the Constitution of India was completed and it was ready to be handed over to the people of this country. And 26 January was chosen as a day on which we declared ourselves as a republic. And till today, we enjoy ourselves as a republic of this country. Let's look at the size of the Constitution. When the Constitution was made, there were 395 articles, 20, and it was in the 22 parts, and there were 8 schedules. Compare this to the American Constitution, which had merely 7 articles. And if you compare India's Constitution will appear like a dictionary, and America's Constitution will appear like a small, thin book of hardly 30 to 40 pages. That itself shows the tasks which Constitution makers had to reckon with in creating this Constitution. And if you look at today, there are almost 470 articles in 25 parts, and our constitution has been amended almost 103 times. This was the historic day when Dr. B.R. Ambedkar handed over the constitution of our country to Dr. Rajendra Prasad, who was also a member of the Constituent Assembly and the President of India. But when we are talking about the Constitution of India, we must not forget the great women who played a vital role in the formation of Indian Constitution. This is a list of women who were members of the Indian Constituent Assembly, and they made a yeoman rendered a yeoman service or contribution in the making of the Indian Constitution. So we can see, as I said, contrasting with the American Constitution, when America's Constitution was drafted, or when the French Constitution was drafted, there were no women in the Constituent Assembly of those countries. But we had more than 15 or almost 16 women who played important role in the making of the Constitution. And this was a day on which Constitution was ready and was handed to the people of India. As we all know that Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar is known as the architect of the Indian Constitution because he played the pioneering role, a laborious task which was put on his shoulders to draft and to give this constitution to the people of this country. Now, when we want to understand the constitution, we know that you take any constitution of the world, it is a very thick document. And it is not possible to turn every page and to read the constitution. Even the best of the Indian lawyers will not know articles, 470 articles, uh, or he is not able to learn all those 470 articles. Then how do you understand the Constitution of India? The best way to know a constitution or to know the nature of any constitution is by reading the preamble of the constitution. And what is a preamble? Preamble is an introduction, or it is something bigger than the introduction. It is the philosophy of the constitution. So preamble of Indian Constitution is nothing but it embodies the preamble of the Indian Constitution. And everything that is written in the preamble is auspicious. It is, we can say, it's the golden rule which governs our life. And let's read the preamble of the Constitution. We, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure for all its citizens justice, social, economic, political, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this day, this 26th day of November 1949, we do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Now look golden letters in which this preamble flows. Now let's try to analyze what does the preamble means, because without understanding the preamble, it is meaningless to know the Constitution. The preamble begins with these three golden words, what is called as We the people of India. Now, who are these we? As I said, that there is a word in NSS which you use, not me, but you. But there is something about you, and there is something about I, and that's we. Hum Bharat ke log. So this constitution, although Dr. Ambedkar is the architect, but who gave him the authority? It is the people of this country. And this constitution gives us an identity, and that identity is of Indianness, that we are Indian. This is an identity which has been given to us by the constitution of this country. What is the significance, second significance of we the people? It binds the past, present, and future generation, which means although the constitution was written and drafted in 1950s, but that doesn't mean it is applicable only to that generation. It is applicable to the past. It is refers to the sacrifices of the people who spill their blood for the freedom of this country. It also includes the generation which created this constitution, and it also binds the generation who are born today or who are living today. So we can say that a constitution is such a thing, a document which brings together three different time periods, that is the past, the present, and the future. And that's why India's constitution is called as a living constitution. Living constitution means which is eternal, which is a timeless doctrine. At the same time, it is dynamic. It is not static or stagnant. Our constitution is flexible enough to change with the different times to meet the challenges of time. And that is the greatness of Indian constitution. The next important words that are mentioned in the constitution are sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. What does this word means? It means basically the type of government which we have in this country. And you can call these words as the foundation of Indian society or the foundation of Indian state. Sovereign, as I explained, India is not just independent, it is no more ruled by any foreign country. Socialist, we followed a particular pattern of government which is socialist, which is concerned with each and every person. That means the government will work for the upliftment of the entire society. We are secular. The reason being, it is a diverse country. People of different faith, religion, caste live together, and they must learn to live harmoniously. And that's why Indian government is secular, Indian state is secular. It will not be partial to any religion, and it will not discriminate any person on the basis of religion. Democratic, because we have followed a parliamentary form of democracy. And the last but the most significant, we are republic. That means the constitution has been created by the people of India, and the people have gifted the constitution to themselves. So it's a very unique movement when people create something and give the same thing to ourselves. And why it is so significant? Because when India got independent, there were also countries like India which got independent, but in those countries there were not capable people to create their own constitution. Take the case of Sri Lanka. When Sri Lanka got independence, there were no enough people to create or write a constitution for themselves. So the Britishers wrote a constitution for Sri Lanka, and the Britishers, and when Indian constitution was ready, many people in the Western world said that it is impossible for India to have a democracy. Democracy in India will fail within a decade. Unfortunately, it is the Sri Lankan constitution which was created by the British people or some British lawyers. It failed in one decade, but our constitution has survived and flourished in the last 70 years. So that is the greatness and strength of Indian constitution. Then come the most important thing, the ideals of the constitution. Now, if these pillars are about what form of government we will have, these are the values which the constitution has given to the people of this country. And which are those values, or which are the ideals that Indian constitution has given to its own people? The first value is of justice. Justice, but which forms of justice? The first justice that every citizen deserves in this country is social justice. Then comes economic justice, then comes political justice. If you look at liberty, the first form of liberty or freedom which this constitution has given is of thought, followed by expression, followed by belief, faith, and then worship. Equality, which is very important, but equality of what? First of status, then of opportunity. Because if you don't recognize every individual As equal, that means what will happen? Not everyone will get same opportunities. And the last thing, but also significant, fraternity. And it is this fraternity assuring the dignity of the individual and unity and integrity of the country. So fraternity is what we mean by we the people. And for what, whether it's NSS or NCC stand for, when we say that it's not me but you, that means you're talking about the Indians, your fellow citizens, and this feeling of fellowship, or what we call fellow being, is impossible without the feeling of fraternity. If you do not consider other people as your own co-citizens, you will never have any respect for them. And this is what the Indian Constitution tries to foster, the feeling of fraternity among all. Then comes the most important thing, what is called as the fundamental rights of Indian citizens. There are 6 different categories of rights which the Constitution has gifted to the people of this country. And our fundamental right starts from Article 14 and it goes up to Article 35. But the real articles are right to equality, which is mentioned in from Article 14 to Article 18. Now, when we say equality means what? Just by saying we are all equal doesn't mean there is an equality. For example, to say that we are merely equal, that does that mean that Mukesh Ambani and we are equal? No, there is a difference of wealth. So what is the constitution is trying to create? It is trying to create 2 kinds of equality. One is formal equality, means Indian constitution will not make discrimination with any person on the basis of his gender, race, caste, color, anything. But at the same time, Indian constitution also believes in substantive equality. Substantive equality means it will try to minimize the difference between the rich and the poor. It will try to erase the caste differences. It will try to foster equality among all religions. And that is what we mean by substantive equality. And that is the reason why our constitution has made provisions for uplifting the people who have suffered historical injustice, or people who are on the marginalized sections of the society. The Indian constitution has made provisions in right to equality for uplifting these masses. The second is what is called as a right to freedom. So it includes right to freedom of speech and expression, right to form associations, right to move freely throughout the length and breadth of the country, right to practice trade, business, whichever you like. And there was a time when there was a right to property, which has been deleted now. But this right to freedom is not unlimited. When you are saying I have right to freedom of speech and expression, that doesn't mean you should abuse a person who's standing in front of you. When you are saying that you have the right to form your own business, that doesn't mean you should indulge in illegal activity. When we say that you have the right to move freely throughout the length and breadth of the country, that doesn't mean that you should violate the laws. You have to follow the laws of the land, and then you have to enjoy the freedom. There is also an interesting article which is known as right against exploitation, and India is a unique country for including this article. Article 17 is again important because it talks about abolition of untouchability, which was a stigma on the Indian society. Similarly, right against exploitation has been in, uh, incorporated in the Indian Constitution to protect women and children. And what does this article says? That any form of forced labor or beggar is prohibited by law. That means we are not supposed to put children into hazardous occupation. We are not supposed to exploit the women. So this is a special article which has been created to protect the rights of the children as well as women. Then the most important, which we all enjoy, right to religious freedom. So Indian constitution is secular, which is very much highlighted and proved by this article, right to religious freedom. So people of different faith can live harmoniously in this country. But right to religious freedom, it also includes right to not to believe in the religion. So a person can say, I do not believe in any religion. I'm an atheist. That means I also do not believe in God. So this kind of rights has also been permitted or given by the Indian Constitution to people, because in India there is a large section of the society who call themselves as atheists or who do not believe in God and religion. So these are the rights which are also enshrined by the Indian Constitution and given to the people. Now remember why these rights are important, because Indian state or Indian government doesn't discriminate any person on the basis of religion. Any person who can become the prime minister or a member of a parliament, and for him it is not necessary to belong to one particular religion or to particular caste. But there are countries which says that if you belong to this religion, then only you can hold political position, and such countries are called as theocratic country because they give a preference to one particular religion, which our constitution has said there will be no discrimination, and which is very clear cut and explicit in our constitution. If you look at the next set of rights, which is called as a cultural and educational right, it's mentioned in just two articles, in Article 29 and 30. But this is a uniqueness of the Indian Constitution. The reason why फंडामेंटल राइट्स आर जनरली गिवन टू द इंडिविजुअल्स. फंडामेंटल राइट्स या मौलिक अधिकार व्यक्तियों को दिए जाते हैं, ग्रुप्स को या संगठन को नहीं दिए जाते. सो द होल आइडिया ऑफ राइट्स इज व्हाट, हु शुड डिजर्व्स अ राइट, एंड इंडिविजुअल डिजर्व्स अ राइट. But Indian Constitution has gone one step ahead, and it has given fundamental rights to groups also. And which group these rights are given? These rights are given to what is called as cultural minorities. And what are these rights? The right to preserve your script, the right to preserve your culture, the right to preserve your language, the right to open educational institutions for the promotion of your community. Now, how are these rights reflected? The best example is our own Junjunwala College. Our college is a linguistic minority, and this linguistic minority, or if you look at any other college which can be a religious minority, all these colleges gets rights because of these articles. And what is the purpose of protecting the rights of the cultural minority? Because there is always a fear that the rights of minorities can be violated by the majority community, not just religious, but it can be linguistic, cultural, anything. So in order to protect the character of the minorities or the minority communities, Indian Constitution has made special provision for them. So if you look at India, there are two types of minorities we can see. One is the religious minority, and second, what is called as linguistic minority. Linguistic minority means, suppose in Maharashtra, majority are Maharashtrian. So a person from Tamil Nadu, a person from UP and Rajasthan, if he wants to open his schools and colleges to promote education among the Rajasthanis or UPites or for Tamilians, he can do so under these articles. If you look at script and language, if a language is destroyed, a culture is destroyed, and that's why efforts are being made to preserve the language of minority community. And there are so many scripts and languages which are very important because they provide us knowledge about the history, the geography, aesthetics, about everything about that particular community. And then comes what is called as the right to constitutional remedies. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called this particular rights from Article 30 to 35 as the soul of the Constitution. यानी ये जो fundamental rights है, right to constitutional remedy, ये भारत के संविधान की आत्मा है. And what is this constitutional remedies? अगर आपके rights का उल्लंघन होता है, और if your rights are violated, by whom? It can be by another member of your community. It can be a member from another community. A community can violate your rights. A state can violate your right. A society can violate your right. So what do you do in that case? Constitution has given you fundamental right, but the chances are your rights can be violated. It can be crushed. At that time, the Constitution will come to your rescue. In what form? In the form of constitutional remedies. And there are various kind of remedies which are given by the Constitution. One of the most important thing is habeas corpus. Habeas corpus basically means what? If police arrest you, it is the responsibility of the police to take you or to put you in the court of law or to produce you in the court of law within 25 hours. And if the police fails to do so, you can approach the High Court or the Supreme Court of India, and Supreme Court and High Court can issue an order to the police station or to the state of government that immediately produce that person in the court of law. That means you cannot remain in jail endlessly. The rule of the law will come to your rescue. There are other constitutional remedies which says, if for example, if you go to the police station and if the police refuses to file a FIR, there is a constitutional remedy which says that it is the duty of the police officer to file the FIR. Or if a police officer is misusing his right or his powers, then the constitution has constitutional remedy which will prevent or which will stop that police officer from misusing his power. And all these things were included in the Constitution of India because the people who drafted this constitution, they were foresighted people. They knew that merely giving freedom and liberty to the people of India is not enough. You have to also make provisions to protect this freedom and liberty in case they are violated. And that provision has been made by the framers of the Indian Constitution, and these remedies have been directly put in the fundamental rights of the Constitution. So this is in what we can say to give you in brief but a larger perspective of what are the fundamental rights of Indian citizens. But merely giving fundamental rights are enough? The answer is no. I'll come to this slide later. There is something called as Directive Principles of the State Policy, which is mentioned in Part 4 of the Indian Constitution, and it constitutes one of the several articles from Article 36 to 51. Now, what are these Directive Principles of the State Policy and for whom? The way framers of the Indian Constitution felt that Indian citizens deserve fundamental rights, at the same time they felt that it is necessary to make the government of India responsible, to make them duty bound, and duty bound towards whom? Towards the people of this country. यानी अगर citizens जो है नागरिक अगर मौलिक अधिकार एंजॉय करते हैं तो इसका ये मतलब नहीं सरकार को फंडामेंटल राइट्स मिलने चाहिए, सरकार को फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज परफॉर्म करनी है, सरकार का कुछ दायित्व बनता है। और कौन से सरकार का? सरकार कोई भी हो, कोई भी पार्टी हो, जो शासन करता है, जो सरकारी लोग है, उनकी जिम्मेदारी है किसके प्रति? समाज के प्रति या सिटीजन ऑफ इंडिया के प्रति। और ये सारे रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी जो है ये डायरेक्टिव प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ स्टेट पॉलिसी में लिखे गए। And what are these things? If you look at this article, we'll just have a brief glance at it. A state to secure a social order for the promotion of welfare of the people. That means the state of India, it doesn't matter whether the Congress is in power or BJP or in future any other party. Every party must be responsible and they should try to bring the welfare of the people of this country. There is an Article 39A which talks about equal justice and free legal aid. Yes, people who have money, if they are caught up in some legal cases, they can hire a good lawyer. But what about the poor people? Can they afford the fees of a lawyer? In that case, the government will provide you free legal aid if you want to fight a case in the court of law. Then there is something called as the right to work, right to education, and to public assistance. So this is what the government is supposed to do for the people. Then there is Article 43 talks about living wage for the workers. There was a time when workers were not paid minimum wage. The owners of the factory, sometimes they would pay the workers their salary or sometimes they would not pay wages to them. But it is mandatory by the mandatory by the constitution that every worker, in order to protect his dignity, he deserves wages or salaries for which he has put in his labor. There is also, which is called controversial article called Uniform Civil Code. There was a debate and discussion, but that article has not been implemented till now because India is not ready to move towards Indian Uniform Civil Code till now. Article 45, which was called as a provision of free and compulsory education for all, it was a part of Directive Principle. Today, it has become a part of fundamental rights, and it's mentioned in Article 21A. Then 46, this article has been created to bring about the welfare of the marginalized sections of the society, especially the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, and the other weaker section of the society. So it may include women, it may include children. So the government has special responsibility toward this section of the society because this section has been marginalized, they were discriminated, they were exploited by the rest of the society. And in order to give them justice, government has to make provisions for them. And various provisions have been made in the last 70 years, although we cannot say that whatever was envisaged in the constitution has been fulfilled, but still efforts are being made. If you look at other things like, if you look at Organization of agriculture and animal husbandry. That means the farmers are the backbone of Indian economy. So in order to protect them, also provisions has been made. Last article, if you see what is called as the promotion of internal peace and security, that means India doesn't not just believe in peace and harmony within India, but it wants peace and security in the global world also. And that is the reason why India is a loving country, and it also believes in what we can say peace not just in India, but we have to promote this peace all throughout the world. And that has been a USP of Indian civilization, that our Indian civilization is inclusive. It knows how to integrate and what we can say, assimilate the people from different regions of the world. At the same time, we have to give a message of peace and harmony to the world. Now, let's come to what is called as constitution and constitutionalism. Constitution was written in 1950, that's fine. But it may happen that that book would have remained on the shelf of the parliament and it would have not been implemented the way it has happened in other countries. Constitution of Pakistan was also written, but within one decade that constitution was buried and military took over the power. Constitution was written for Turkey also, but there was a rise of what we can say autocracy in Turkey. In Indonesia, which got independence in almost 2 or 3 years after India, constitution was written, but it was buried. Same thing happened in Sri Lanka. And that's why more than constitution, what is equally important, what is called as constitutionalism. Constitutionalism is means basically you have to create a constitutional culture. That means the people of these countries are not just supposed to read the constitution, they are supposed to practice the constitution in their everyday life. When your own values, when you are able to integrate the values of the constitution in your mind and heart, and you're going to follow those values in your everyday life, within your family, within your community, within your town or village, and within the society in which you live, we say that constitutionalism has come into practice. So what is constitutionalism? It is nothing but a culture and ethics and ethos which are mentioned in the Indian constitution and which are accepted not only by the mind but also by the heart of the citizens of this country. We say constitution that has been created. Now if you look at this diagram, I have put the constitution at the center, and there are three smaller what we can say circles around it. One is the state, and another is the society and individual. Now what is the relation between these three entities? The constitution is one, it's like a sun in the solar system, and these three things are like the planet which revolves around the constitution. And Indian constitution governs these three. Now if you look at the individual, as I said, individuals have fundamental rights, but these fundamental rights can be violated by whom? It can be violated by the state and it can be violated by the society. And what happens when the rights of the individual are violated? Constitution will come to your rescue. If state is violating, then constitution will stop the state from violating your rights. If society is violating the rights of the individual, Indian constitution will come to the rescue of the Indian individual or the citizen of India. And if you look at this thing, we know that Indian state is a democratic state. That means people have the right and liberty. But if you see, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar described the Indian society as undemocratic, where we don't recognize each other as equal, as with people have dignity. We are refuse to accept the dignity because we are divided on the basis of caste, religion, creed, gender inequality. So whenever there is a fight between an individual and a society, constitution will come to the rescue of the individual. But at the same time, Indian constitution is making efforts in the last 70 years to transform the society. Transform the society means what? It is trying to change the value system of the Indian society. So all those wrong values or all those discrimination which Indian society believes in, there is a fight going on between Indian constitution and Indian society. An Indian constitution is trying to tell the Indian society, please change. Just because you are ancient, that doesn't mean everything that is ancient is good for the society. There are certain things which are bad, there are certain things which are corrupt, there are certain things which are immoral. You have to remove and throw these things out of your society. And for that, society has to change. And this is the relationship that Indian Constitution established between state and constitution, state and individual, and state and the society. So what is the Indian Constitution done? It has created a democratic state. It has given rights and liberties to the individual, and at the same time, it is acting like a shield. Like in the Mahabharata, you know that there was one character called Karna, and nobody could on earth could defeat Karna. Does anyone know why? उनके पास क्या पावर थी कर्ण के पास, जिस वजह से कोई भी उन्हें युद्ध में हरा नहीं सकता था?
कवच कुंडल.
एग्जैक्टली, द शील्ड वॉज प्रोवाइडेड टू हिम. कवच कुंडल थे, और जब तक वो कवच कुंडल थे तब तक वो सेफ थे. जिस दिन वो निकल गए, he died on the battlefield. The constitution is like that Kavach Kundal which protects the individual. And from whom? From the repressive or regressive practices of the Indian society. So whether it's a member of the Indian society, whether he's a Hindu, Muslim, is upper caste, lower caste, and an individual as a citizen of this country, if the society tries to thwarts your rights, tries to trample upon your rights and liberties, Constitution of India will be there. And that's why we are not the one who are protecting the Constitution. It is the Constitution which is protecting us. It is the Constitution which is like an umbrella which is shielding us from the rain as well as from the heat. It protects us in every way, and that's why it is a sacrosanct duty of every individual, of the citizen of this country, to respect and revere the Constitution. Because let us not take the Constitution for granted. The day Constitution dies, the India as a nation will die, India as a state will die, because then there will be anarchy. There will be what we can call as a jungle raj. Each person will behave ruthlessly, recklessly. There will be absence of law and order, and people, it will turn like, it will be like a wildfire that will sweep the Indian society, and everybody will be reduced to ashes. And that is the reason why Constitution of India is of such a important, and it plays a vital role in what we can say the life of our country. That's why Indian Constitution, as I said, it is a resilient. That means no matter what challenges this country face, Indian Constitution is able to meet those challenges. The Constitution of India has reinvented itself from time to time to meet the exigencies of time. It is also eternal in the sense that it is not static and stagnant. And let's remember what the great Dr. Ambedkar, or also the architect of the Indian Constitution, has said, where he has given a beautiful definition of democracy. He says that democracy is not merely a form of government, it is primarily a mode of associated living, of conjoint communicated experience. It is essentially an attitude of respect and reverence toward fellow men. And he makes distinction between two types of democracy, where he says political democracy cannot last unless there lies at the base of it social democracy. So the Indian Constitution is making an effort, it is striving to democratize the Indian society so that the dreams which Indian Constitution makers saw in the 1950s, those dreams will turn into reality. Thank you all of us, all of the NSS members and Hindi Vidya Prachar Samiti. With this, I end my talk on the Indian Constitution, and now the forum is open if the chair permits for discussion and debates.
Thank you, sir.
Students, if you have question, you can write in the chat box and then Akanksha will read for you.
Volunteers, write your doubts in the chat box.
I think so, sir. You have given such an elaborate and wonderful presentation. Students don't have doubts, looks like.
Ma'am, there is one question.
Yeah, please read.
Why India is not in the position to access the Uniform Civil Code?
Okay, this has been a very controversial article in the Indian Constitution. Now, if you look at the laws in India, there are two types of laws. One is called as a criminal laws, second is called as a civil laws. Criminal laws means if you commit any kind of violated a law of India, suppose if you break traffic rules, same kind of penalty will be imposed on you. If you commit a murder, the same punishment will be given irrespective of caste, gender, religion. So it doesn't mean that if a Hindu commits a murder, he'll get more punishment. If a non-Hindu commits, he'll get less punishment. So uniform criminal laws are similar for everyone. Civil laws means what? Civil laws includes also rules and regulation related to your marriage, related to your divorce, related to ancestral property, related to inheritance. That means property you get from your previous generation. Then the distribution of property. All these matters come under civil law, and all these laws related to marriage, divorce, then adoption, these are governed by every religion. For example, Muslims marry according to Sharia. Hindus have their own religious practices. Parsis have their own, Jains have their own, Sikhs marry according to their religious scriptures. Christians, for them, for example, marriage is a sacrament. Now, if you want to create a uniform law, the question will be which religion laws will be used and imposed on others. Because if you tell a Muslim to marry according to Hindu laws, he is not going to agree. Similarly, a Hindu will not marry according to Sharia. There are, for example, certain religions allow adoption, but certain religions do not allow adoption. For example, in among the Hindus, you can adopt a child of someone else, but there are also some other religions where you cannot become a father or mother of that adopted child. You are considered as a guardian only. Some religions allow divorce, some religions do not allow divorce. And suppose of a intercaste marriage or interreligious marriage is to happen between, let's say, Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian or a Hindu, which religious ceremony they are supposed to follow. And that is the reason why we have a special marriage act, so people from different religion and different caste can marry according to the secular law. And that is a debate which is going on, why uniform civil code cannot be established, because the issue is now whose religious practices should be followed. Now, some people can say, okay, not follow any religious practices. Whenever you are getting married, you should not call the Pandit or a Maulavi or a priest, but will people agree to it? When it comes to ancestral property, when you inherited the property from your grandparents, there are certain rules and regulations of your religion. Are people ready, willing to give up those rules and regulations? So this is what is the problem with uniform civil. Till there is no, what we can say, consensus among all the religious community, uniform civil code is difficult. And one religion cannot impose its own laws on the other religious people. But there is another debate, because all religions, some or the other way, discriminate women of their own community, whether be it Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, or Christian. And that's why women have said, instead of uniform civil code, let's have a uniform gender code, so that women get equal rights when it comes to property, when it comes to matters of divorce, when it comes to adoption. Take for example, nowadays there is a concept of what is called a live-in relationship or single parenting. Now, how do you have a uniform civil code for single parenting? Or now the sexual minorities, gays, lesbian, have also got right. So which law you are going to, which religious practice you are going to impose on this? So these are some of the larger issues which we have to tackle. And that's why uniform civil code is very difficult. And even if you want to impose it, it cannot be imposed. You have to have a dialogue and discussion with everyone. Then only it is possible.
Okay, sir. One more question.
Yeah.
Why directive principles are not enforceable?
Well, one of the main reason is directive principle are something which should be implemented, but it cannot be enforced directly by the government. Take the case of education. Now, when India got independent at that time, it was not possible to open schools everywhere because economic resources are required. Suppose if the government builds schools in each and every village of India, but you also need teachers to come and teach in those classrooms. You need books also, you need curriculum also. So there are a lot of other things like technical resources, economic resources, cultural resources which are required in order to implement the directive principle. So it was decided by the constitution makers, as and when India will get enough resources, as and when we go on developing, slowly and steadily each and every directive principles can be implemented. Take a simple example like ban on liquor or consumption of liquor. Can you make a law all over India and say that you are not supposed to consume liquor? Because liquor, sometimes people drink liquor out of compulsion. Sometimes when you celebrate, uh, at that time also you consume these drinks. There are tribal communities who celebrate each and every festival by consuming these kind of drinks, what is called as not liquor, but there are other kind of drinks which are made from rice. Now, some communities do that, some communities don't do that. So there cannot be a blanket ban on everything. See, India is a very diverse country, and you cannot come out with one set of laws and say that okay, all everyone has to follow this law. Take a simple example like lockdown, which has happened in the few months back. Is it possible to have a lockdown all throughout India? We tried and did that, but what was the consequence of that? We saw the swath of masses, the migrant community were walking on the roads for thousands of kilometers going back to their villages. So this is a problem, peculiar problem of India. We cannot force everything on the people. Sometimes we have to convince the people. A simple example like government has been telling you to wear a mask while going out or don't create crowd. Now there was a Diwali or other festivals, people were coming out in large numbers. They were not obeying the orders of the government. So this is sometimes happened.
Okay, sir. One more question uh, from Madhu. Like, who wrote the Constitution, Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar or Prem Bihari?
See, writing the constitution and drafting of the constitution, these are two different. Writing means, suppose if I'm delivering a lecture and somebody's whatever I'm saying, you are writing it or typing it, that doesn't mean you are the author of the constitution. Author is one who comes out with the ideas. So Ambedkar was the one person whose ideas were implemented. And once the draft was ready, that constitution was written. Constitution जो है लिखा गया है कुछ भाषा में. Indian constitution is first written in the English language. So it is a calligraphic. इसमें कई पहले पन्नों पर किसी ने पेंटिंग किया हुआ है, किसी ने कुछ अलग अलग तरीके से लिखा हुआ है. सो जिस व्यक्ति ने लिखा है, उन्होंने जो हमने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के जो आर्टिकल्स लिखे थे उसे पेपर पर लिखने का काम किया. जैसे अभी मैं बात कर रहा हूँ और आप लोग टाइप कर रहे हो, मैं जो भी बोल रहा हूँ, that does that mean you are the author of the constitution? No. So Dr. Ambedkar is the author of the constitution, or what we can say architect of the constitution. सिंपल भाषा मतलब बिल्डिंग जो है उसमें काम करने वाले कई सारे लोग रहते हैं, इंजीनियर्स रहते हैं, मजदूर रहते हैं, इलेक्ट्रिशियन रहते हैं, कारपेंटर्स रहते हैं, बट बिल्डिंग का प्लान बनाने वाला आर्किटेक्ट रहता है, उसके दिमाग के अनुसार वो बिल्डिंग बनती है. So that is the case with Indian constitution, that the way James Madison is the father of American Constitution or architect of India American Constitution, B.R. Ambedkar is the architect of Indian Constitution.
Okay, sir. One more question. Um, so some say that Hindi is the national language of India, while some of them deny it. So what is the truth behind that?
India doesn't have a national religion, national culture and national language. भारत में राष्ट्र जिसे हम कहते हैं राष्ट्र भाषा नहीं है. We have an official language because Hindi is not spoken by majority in the country. Remember, Hindi is just spoken in North India. और हिंदी जो बोली जाती है यूपी में वो अलग है, बिहार में बोलने वाली हिंदी अलग है, राजस्थान में जो हिंदी बोली जाती है वो अलग है, एमपी में बोलने वाली हिंदी अलग है. तो इस पर बहस हुई थी भारत के संविधान सभा में कि भारत की राष्ट्रभाषा क्या होनी चाहिए. तो नॉर्थ के जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली के मेंबर्स है वो कह रहे थे हिंदी होनी चाहिए, कुछ लोगों ने कहा नहीं संस्कृत होनी चाहिए. तो सवाल यह है कि संस्कृत कितने लोग बोलते हैं? हार्डली 1% लोग संस्कृत उस जमाने में बोलते थे. आज भी हम देखते हैं 10% लोग भी संस्कृत भाषा नहीं बोलते. तो कुछ लोग कहने लगे हिंदी हमारी राष्ट्रभाषा होनी चाहिए, लेकिन साउथ के जो मेंबर्स ऑफ कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली थे उन्होंने कहा हम हिंदी को कभी भी अपनाएंगे नहीं. एंड फाइनली ये इस मुद्दे को ड्रॉप किया गया कि भारत की कोई राष्ट्रभाषा होगी, उसके जगह पर हमने ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेज ये शब्द इस्तेमाल किया. सो हिंदी इज वन ऑफ द 22 21 लैंग्वेज 22 भाषा है, उसमें से एक हिंदी हमारी ऑफिशियल भाषा है. एंड रिमेंबर, भारत का संविधान जो है अंग्रेजी में लिखा गया था. सुप्रीम कोर्ट के प्रोसीडिंग्स, हाई कोर्ट के प्रोसीडिंग्स सारे अंग्रेजी में होते, हिंदी भाषा में नहीं होते. महाराष्ट्र की 2 ऑफिशियल लैंग्वेजेस है, मराठी और इंग्लिश, हिंदी नहीं है. So that's the beauty of India. We have a diversity. हमारी एक ना धर्म है, कोई राष्ट्र धर्म है, ना कोई राष्ट्रभाषा, ना कोई राष्ट्रीय कल्चर है. बट यही हमारी खूबसूरती है. So you have to be remember that Hindi, we don't have a official, we have official language, not national language. There is a difference between the two things.
Okay, sir. One more question. Fundamental rights are defined in which part of Indian Constitution?
It's written in part 3 of the Indian Constitution. आज के तारीख में टोटल 25 भाग है संविधान के, उसमें से जो तीसरा भाग है उसमें फंडामेंटल राइट्स का जिक्र किया गया है.
Okay, sir. One more question. Will there be an implementation of any rule that people joining politics has to be undergraduate at least?
ये चीज भी है, वो उस वक्त डिबेट की गई थी, क्या राजनीति में आने के लिए शिक्षित होना जरूरी, whether it's important to be educated. Now most of the people who wrote the constitution, came from a lawyer's background. But if you look in politics, is it possible to make compulsory education as minimum certain qualification to enter politics? The question is little tricky, because which kind of education? अगर हम graduation की बात करेंगे तो फिर हम ये कहेंगे क्या जिन लोगों ने पॉलिटिकल साइंस में ग्रेजुएशन किया है सिर्फ वही राजनेता बन सकते हैं? Then in that case, Narendra Modi ji would have never become the prime minister of this country. He is the most popular prime minister, but if you look at his qualification, he is not as qualified, let's say, as Manmohan Singh. The second question is कि एजुकेटेड होना मतलब क्या? अगर मैं आपसे सवाल पूछूंगा कि आप कौन से वार्ड में रहते हैं और आपके वार्ड के काउंसिलर का नाम क्या है, कितने लोग बता पाएंगे? ऑल्दो आप लोग शायद अभी अपने आप को एजुकेटेड कहते हो, तो ये नॉलेज आपके पास शायद नहीं होगा, बिकॉज दीज आर द थिंग विच वी डोंट केयर ऑल्सो. आपसे पूछा जाए कि आप गांव में रहते हैं तो उस गांव में विलेज के पंचायत में कितने मेंबर्स और कैसे इलेक्ट किए जाते हैं, वी डोंट नो. देन द क्वेश्चन कम्स, एजुकेशन मतलब कौन सा एजुकेशन? फॉर्मल एजुकेशन, बीए, बीएससी, बीकॉम, सिर्फ इसी के आधार पर तय किया जाएगा. तो कल कोई बोलेगा बीए, बीएड, बीकॉम से अब बेहतर होगा जो लोगों ने पीएचडी किए सिर्फ उन्हीं को राजनीति में आना चाहिए, या जो आईआईटी से है, आईआईएम से बंदे हैं, सिर्फ दोज पीपल शुड बिकम पॉलिटिशियन. बट द पॉइंट इज, विल दोज पीपल अंडरस्टैंड द इश्यूज? टेक फॉर एग्जांपल, हम जानते हैं कि ग्राम पंचायत में वगैरह महिलाओं के लिए आरक्षण है सरपंच बनने के लिए या ग्राम सदस्य बनने के लिए. अब एक जमाने में लोग कहते हैं कि औरतों को क्या समझती है राजनीति के बारे में, उनको क्या समझ है. बट जब से महिला राजनीति में आ गए या ग्राम पंचायत के सदस्य बन गए, उन्होंने कुछ ऐसे मुद्दे लिए जो पुरुष नहीं लेते थे, जैसे पीने का पानी, बच्चों की शिक्षा, साफ सफाई जो है, या जैसे आज स्वच्छ भारत अभियान तो मोदी जी ने अभी लॉन्च किया है, लेकिन ग्राम पंचायत पर जब से महिला सरपंच बनने लगे वो लोग इन इश्यूज को ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट स्ट्रेस करते थे. और हम देखते हैं कि पूरे भारत भर में, केरला हो या यूपी हो, जिन गांवों में महिलाओं के हाथ में राजनीतिक ताकत आ गई, वो गांव ज्यादा विकसित हो गए. हो सकता है वो अनपढ़ महिला है, लेकिन उन्हें गांव की समस्या के बारे में ज्यादा जानकारी है, शायद आपको और मुझे पता नहीं होगा. So that's why when we talk about education, there is a big debate. कौन सा education होना चाहिए?
Okay, sir. So no more question.
Okay, thank you very much.
So thank you so much, sir, for investing your precious time and making us understand this complicated and important topic so easily. We all really did enjoy this session. Thanking you again.
Yeah, thank you very much to the Junjunwala College, the NSS unit, and to all the students belonging to NSS and also the non-NSS for giving me a patient listening, and more important is for celebrating this day, which has to be become a part and parcel of your life. Every breath you take, it must include the constitutional values and you must implement it. So thank you very much. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Bhushan sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mangesh sir. Thank you very
New
much.
identity, and you said binding of present, future, and past. It's really very nice to hear to you. Your presentation was absolutely flawless, and really it gave great knowledge. Thank you, sir, so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Volunteers, volunteers, please fill the feedback form for attendance and e-certificates.
Thank you, sir.
It has been provided in the
Thank you
chat
very
box.
much. So shall I leave
So,
with your
Yes,
due
sir. Yes.
permission?
Thank you so
yes,
much
sir.
again.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, volunteers, also for participating in the event.
Thank you, NSS volunteers and
NSS,
leaders.
non-NSS also, ma'am, and from outsider also, those who are joined from outside the college. So also thanks to the POs for giving the link and all the necessary details. Please fill up the feedback form so that you will get the certificate. Again, there is a one more event at a 1 o'clock at a university level. So also I request all of you join at a 1 o'clock. Akansha will send the
Sir, I will not be able to join. I have a departmental college
Yes.
Manshu principal sir's meeting.
Yeah, I will join.
But whenever it ends, I will just message you on WhatsApp. If it is still on, I will join that.
Okay, no problem, ma'am.
NSS volunteers, please, you have to join, right?
It is a university level program. So you have, for showing the hours, you have to join for that event. Sir. Please, all of you, fill up that feedback form. Akansha once again send it in the chat box if it is not opening. It is opening. Once you fill the form, you can leave. Please fill the form properly. Your name, surname, college name. If you have practicals, do no need to join. If you have lectures or exam,
सर मला मीटिंग लीव्ह करता येत नाही. आय थिंक सो मी होस्ट आहे म्हणून, कारण मला दुसऱ्या मीटिंगला जॉईन व्हायचं ना, मला होस्ट म्हणून काढून टाका ना.
मैम आप किसी और को होस्ट बना दो एंड यू कैन लीव देम
बिकॉज आई हैव टू जॉइन इन अनदर मीटिंग नाउ. नो, आई कॅनॉट डू दॅट.
लीव नाही करत आहे तो, करता येते मॅडम.
मला लीव्ह नाही, मीटिंग एंड होईल नाही तर लीव्ह नाही.
अच्छा, एक काम करा ना, एक हॅलो मॅडम, मला होस्ट करा आणि लीव करा. तुम्ही होस्ट आहेत ना, मला होस्ट करा. आता मी बघितलं. हा, आता तुम्ही जेव्हाही करू शकता.
हा, कारण मी तर लीव्हच नव्हती करू शकत. हा, ठीक. ओके, बाय सर.
बाय बाय बाय.
I will provide the link in the WhatsApp group for 1 o'clock event.
Yes, you can leave the meeting once you're done. Those who are done, they can leave meeting fast. Akansha, give the report of it in the given format.
Yes, sir. Yes.
I think 107 or 6 there were the all participant. It's a good
Yes,
number.
sir.
Good number. Shall I leave end the meeting? Done.
All are done with the feedback form?
पलक यादव हुआ रहेगा तो you can leave the meeting. Those are done. Otherwise, I have to end. You will not go.
Minu, try with another Gmail account if it's not opening.
Feedback is not opening. उसको वापस एक बार उसके नंबर पे या हो सकता है तो भेज दीजिए. वो गूगल इधर नहीं होगा उसको व्हाट्सअप कर दो जरा. नहीं व्हाट्सअप मत करो. उसका कोई तो और जिसका ओपन होगा उसको फिलअप करो. उसका डिटेल्स लेके. कौन है? पलक गई क्या है?
Volunteers fill out the form quickly. Those who are done, they can leave the meeting now.
Akansha, you are host.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sunita, try with another Gmail account, or else you can copy paste the link and afterwards you can try it. Volunteers fill out the form quickly. Gurpreet, Pushkar, Arshia, Ankita Patil, Vinay Yadav, Manaz Khan, Ayushi Anurag, Lakshmi Priya, Gaurav Dubey, Minu Sharma, Mohammad Adnan Ansari, Mrinmay, Nikhat Ansari, Rakhi Ojha, Rutuja Datkile, Sheetal Yadav, Sunita Vishakha. Please fill out the form quickly. It's in chat box. It's for attendance and for e-certificate. So please see to it that you have to fill that form. Minu, copy paste the link and afterwards you can try it with another Gmail account. Volunteers, please fill out the form quickly. We have to end up with the meeting also. Those who all are not filling the form, your attendance will not be taken. So please see to it that you should fill that form. It's for attendance and for e-certificate purpose. So please. Those who all are not able to open the form, they can try with another Gmail account. Should I end up with the meeting if all are done? Gurpreet, Pushkar, Arsha, those who all are done, they can leave the meeting now. Okay. Ayushi, you can leave. Mehnaz, you can leave. Pushkar, you can also leave. What about Ankita, Vinay, Anurag Singh, Gaurav Yadav, Gaurav Dubey, Meenu Sharma, Nikhat Ansari, Rakhi Oja, Sheetal Yadav and Sunita. What about you guys? सुनीता एक काम करो सुनीता दूसरे जीमेल अकाउंट से ट्राई करो बिकॉज आपके इधर कुछ इशू होगा दैट्स व्हाई फिल आउट नहीं हो रहा है फॉर्म एक्चुअली ओपन है तो इसलिए ओके ऋतुजा यू कैन लीव द मीटिंग लक्ष्मी प्रिया यू कैन आल्सो व्हाट अबाउट पुष्कर यू कैन लीव you have done with your feedback form na Vinay Yadav, Anurag Singh, Ashish Shukla, Gaurav Dubey. Please fill out the form. I have sent it once again. Please fill out the form, guys, quickly. I'm ending. I will end the meeting now. Vinay Yadav, Anurag Singh, Ashish Shukla, Gaurav Dubey, Mantasha Khan. Please fill out the form quickly, or else your attendance will not be marked. I'm sending it again and again. Please fill out. Vinay sir, Rohit sir, tell them to fill out the form. Ashish Shukla. Guys, fill out the form quickly because Vinay Yadav, Anurag Singh, please fill out. Rakhi Oja, Sheetal Yadav, Sunita. Guys, please fill out because meeting will be end up now. In 1 to 2 minutes, meeting will end up. So please fill that form. Vinay sir, Rohit sir, are you there?
Yes, I'm there, Akansha.
आई डोंट नो, पता नहीं बच्चे फॉर्म क्यों नहीं फिल आउट कर रहे हैं, तो मैं क्या करूँ, लाइक मीटिंग एंड कर दूं?
Yes, मीटिंग एंड कर दो.
बिकॉज बच्चे फॉर्म फिल आउट नहीं कर रहे हैं. या अनुराग, प्लीज फिल आउट द फॉर्म. शीतल यादव, are you done with your form? Sheetal, guys, fill out the form quickly. Ankita Patil, Vinay Yadav, and Nikhat Ansari, Sheetal Yadav. You guys are not replying.
Yes, I am
also.
done with this.
So you can leave the meeting now. Why you, Vinay Yadav and Nikhat Ansari and Sheetal Yadav and Sunita, why you guys are not replying at all? Like, not on chat box? So I am ending up with the meeting now. नहीं भरा है फॉर्म तो आई गेस आपका अटेंडेंस नहीं लगेगा देन, एंड आपको कोई सर्टिफिकेट भी नहीं मिलेंगे. So last time I'm saying that fill that form for e-certificates and for your attendance. So I'm providing the link again. So see to it that you should fill. Poonam ma'am, are you done with the attendance? Session is over, guys. No need to join it again. Session is already over. Just fill out the form. Some students are joining it now. Okay. Okay, Vinay sir, should I end the meeting now? Because no one is
Yes,
responding.
Akansha.
Okay, fine. Volunteers, I am ending with the meeting now because I guess everyone is done with the feedback form. मधु शुक्ला, आपने फॉर्म भरा, फीडबैक फॉर्म?
Yes, ma'am, I feel it.
हाँ, so leave the meeting then. Those who are done, they can leave. Okay, so I am ending up the meeting now. Fine.